Welcome to another episode of Unscripted Believe at Noon, and we are surrounded by friends, my friends. Yes, today we have Amy Ferris. She is an author, a screenwriter, a playwright, a journalist, champion of women and men, and a Buddhist. And co-hosting this with me, I'm thrilled to say, is Jane Sibbett, and Jane is the founder and creator of right here, Noon, the new Noon Miracle. So we're gonna have a lot of fun chatting with Amy. Here we go. All right, well, I'm so excited because we're amongst friends today. Yay! I did the intro and introduced wonderful Amy Ferris and my co-host Jane Sibbett. Yay, who is the Noon Miracle? You brought it back.
Thank you.
To the point where we get to talk for 25 minutes like ladies, hello.
I know, I'm so excited. I'm
and
so
all
happy.
Things Amy Ferris.
The goddess Amy Ferris. The goddess Amy Ferris. We bow to the goddess Amy Ferris. We just love you so much.
So much.
Can I just say, I came from, so I went and had coffee with my daughter this morning quickly, from a good place, and not my old place that I don't no longer. And I said, I just want to read you something, and I couldn't get through just a little essay inside of Marrying George Clooney. I was laughing so hard I had to go reapply my makeup. Because
which part? Which piece? Read something.
Do you want me to read? I don't know if I can do it justice, but
this is Amy Ferris at her best.
Okay. Is that okay, Amy? May I?
Oh yeah, I'll answer for her. Yes.
Wait.
I'm holding on to my crystals.
The second Amy will.
Okay. Well, I had to go because I do know George. And so, and I was in People magazine for saying my secret crush was George Clooney back in the day when we were, in sound stages next to each other, which was, horrible. You never do that to your friends, but I did anyway. So this morning, I just wanted to read this to Ruby because she doesn't really have the context of that time of her life because she was a baby. So hold on a second. All right. And I'm going to get through this. I promise. So please raise your hand if you have ever had a fantasy of marrying George Clooney. Right. I have taken a poll among my many curiously deranged, off-balance girlfriends who very often find themselves dancing or in some cases swaying to the beat of their own iPod in the middle of the night. Each one, honest to God, has a similar fantasy. Mine goes like this: tossing and turning, more tossing and turning, more tossing and more turning. You slip out of bed and you find yourself standing in front of the bathroom vanity mirror. The puffy, droopy eyelids, along with the ever so slightly sag in the jowls, and you understand on a cellular level how Faye Dunaway was able to turn herself into a radioactive trout. I'm so sorry. First it was the eyes. Let's pull and tuck them tightly, adding the glamour of Scotch tape so that they appear to no longer be in the center of the face. Let's take the nose, which at one time was so perfect and straight, and now expand the nostrils so they can hide canned goods in case of a nuclear meltdown. And now the lips. It's always such a tragedy when the mouth starts to take on the form and shape of a 6-lane freeway. Why? Why do we women do this to ourselves? Really, what is the point? Because we want to get hired as an ingenue, the sexy hot babe. Hey, I've got news for you. We are sexy hot women. But we're all Botoxing ourselves into non-expression frenzy mode. I mean, really, what is so sexy about a shiny forehead that only seems to move when you jerk your arm? I couldn't stop laughing with this. Oh, Amy, I bow to you again for just writing what we feel.
Amy gets it. Amy, where do you get this creativity? Where did it start? Like how?
How?
I think I was really born with it. I don't think really. I never went to college. I didn't take a writing class. I just kind of fell into being creative.
And you fell into a certain way that you share that is so honest and so revealing and vulnerable and so hilarious. And it's not that you're just poking fun at of the world, but also all of us when we're going through this stuff as we're like looking at all of the things of life, whether it's the fantasy or even the rage too. I just so appreciate it. You know,
And as a matter of fact, so Amy, when did you become so vulnerable? Like, how were you able to express yourself? Like, I want to know that. I think that is so important because we're people, women particularly, are fearful of that.
I think I've always been really vulnerable. To be very honest with you, I think I've always been very vulnerable. I think it got me into a lot of trouble when I was younger. I think now it's really cool and wonderful that I'm vulnerable. But I think I always was. I grew up with a mom who didn't nurture me. And I loved my dad. And he made me feel like I could, you know, be vulnerable and make mistakes and do a whole lot of stuff that, you don't do when you're 15, 16, 17, especially coming out of, Long Island. It's just, I think I've always been vulnerable.
but the courage to express it too, Amy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think that's what's sometimes so fabulously inspirational. And you have this amazing troop of women all around the world that are just waiting every single day
Yes.
for you to share your beautiful wisdom and your heart. Ruby was asking, she goes, how did she fall into this style of writing?
Well, that's a
Ooh,
great question.
I don't think I fell into it. I think it's very much, Jane, we've talked about this over the years, actually, right?
Yeah.
Our voices. And
Yeah.
Amy, you talk about it. I write like I speak.
Mhm.
I'm not, I don't, I'm not trying to be anybody else or anything else. It's like that's who I am. Who I am on the page is literally who I am.
See, now that's great. In actual fact, that's also great advice because people grapple with what should I write about? What should I do? And just be you. Just start with you.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's what we struggle with, right? I think we struggle with who can I be or who should I be or who should I emulate or oh my God, they write 8 hours a day and I write
Yeah.
15 minutes. You know, I think
Yeah.
there's so much of that
Yeah.
comparison, right? Comparing. I, with marrying George Clooney, I was up in the middle of the night. I wrote my very first thing, Googling old boyfriends.
She laughs.
And I just like,
I just love it.
And how many have there been?
there's been plenty.
It's a curious thing to go back and do that. Yes.
It's,
Oh, wait, I missed somebody. Wait a minute.
Yeah, right.
oh my God, is he going to find out that I didn't Google him? But that was how it began, and I wasn't thinking about it being a book. I wasn't thinking about, oh my God, where am I going to take this? And, I just wrote.
Yeah.
And that's really how I write. It's not, there's no secret. I don't spend a whole lot of time, in anxiety or angst, or I just write.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that what I write and how I write has an impact on other women.
Yeah.
That I can write my truth. And sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I just fucking put that out there. And sometimes I think, good, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else will be able to have courage today.
It's a
Amy,
good thing.
when did screenwriting come into play for you? So, because I know especially for Noon Miracle, this is such a creative form. Share your journey because people need to know. We know, and it's.
Oh my God, my journey was weird, actually. Um,
Oh, we like weird.
no, it was one of those things where I kind of transitioned. I think the big moment for me was in 1988 when it was the Writers Guild strike. And I had become a member of the Writers Guild through something else that I had written, and I don't quite remember how that happened. But then there was this big strike. and they were picketing and walking in New York. And it was pretty amazing because there were just a few women who were picketing. And Vicky Polon and I ended up walking together, and Vicky had written the movie Girlfriends. And she was kind of, she was a big deal, and, and sassy. And she and I ended up like, having this conversation, and we would go to her office after the strike, and we came up with the idea of Mr. Wonderful. And we wrote it together. It's kind of like, how do you get your ex-wife married so you don't have to pay alimony?
That's great.
And we did, and we wrote it together, and we worked together. And when the strike was over, we got it out to a few people, and it was really interesting because a lot of people loved it, and then it ended up in the hands of Tom Rothman at Goldwyn, when he was at Goldwyn, Sam Goldwyn, and then he went over to Warner Brothers. And so he took that project with him. And that was kind of how I broke in, really. It was very serendipitously, and meeting this woman. And I haven't seen Vicky, or, it's kind of like, we haven't seen each other in 30 years. But it was that particular moment that kind of, and I love writing screenplays. I love writing dialogue, and so that's how it happened. And then, the movie got made. And then I ended up writing a whole bunch of other projects and getting hired. And Ned Tannen, when he was the head of Paramount Pictures, bought a spec script of mine that he absolutely loved, and he became a mentor. And, and then I wrote a whole lot of I wrote for 2 TV series, and then I wrote Funny Valentines. And that was an amazing story because Funny Valentines was based on a short story, a J. California Cooper short story. And it was at Universal Studios. And they had Julie Dash as a director, and they had Alfre Woodard. Alfre was one of the producers and had made a firm commitment to shooting this movie. But they got a script in, and nobody liked it. Mm. And I had written a script, a spec script that Universal had just optioned. And it was a love story. And they took my name off it. They took the title page off because Funny Valentines was all Black characters, all Black. And they gave my script, to Julie Dash and to Alfre Woodard. Mm-hmm. And Alfre Woodard read the script and got in touch with Randy and Barbara at Universal and said, "This is poetry. Hire this person." Great. And so I was hired. And here's the thing. I had a really, really short window to write it because it had a July start date. It literally had a, production, right? And I was given a window to write it. And I was like freaking the fuck out. It was like, how am I going to do this? And I can't do this. And meanwhile, Julie Dash and I were having phone conversations, and it was literally a page 1 rewrite. Page 1. She said, don't use anything from the other script. And we had never met. Julie Dash and I had never met. Mm. And I handed in the script, literally 3 days before the due date. I gave birth prematurely. And they read it and they gave it a green light.
Great.
Wow.
Amazing.
And
no notes? Any notes?
Oh yeah, well, no, actually a little, but I was working with Julie, so I was sending her pages, and she was like, "Oh, this is so beautiful." And Julie Dash, truly, deeply, is, talk about goddesses. Hmm. This magnificent, absolutely magnificent woman. And at the premiere, I was invited to the premiere. Now, we had never met. And I was invited, and it was at the Magic Johnson Theater in LA. And I went with my friend, Melissa. She and I went, and I walked in, and I saw Julie Dash, and I walked over to her and I said, "Hey, Julie, I'm Amy Ferris." And she said, "You're a white girl?"
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Right, like that.
That's
So
hilarious.
right, like that. But the thing that was so amazing was so incredible, and it really was. And at the premiere, when
That's a huge compliment.
she got up on the stage to, to kind of like announce them, do the whole thing with, and this is the movie and this is how it, and she made me stand up. And she said,
Wow.
"Here because of that woman." And it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. And it was right after that that I thought, I can't do this anymore. This is like the greatest experience I will ever have as a
Oh.
writer. And mostly because, and Jane, you know this, you're rewritten all the time. Somebody comes in and rewrites you, or somebody comes in and, and the thing that I love about how it began is that they didn't know if I was a man or a woman. They didn't know if I was white or black or, a person of color. They didn't know if I was gay or straight or trans. They read what was on the page.
Right.
Right. It was the voice that came through. Yes.
And that was how I was hired.
Beautiful.
It was not because of, I could have been anybody.
That's true.
And that always struck me, that the way that Barbara and Randy handled it was because it was specifically a story about Black women and sisters, and, and they handled it magnificently. And I wonder if that would ever happen today. I don't think I would have ever been hired today.
Right.
I don't think I would have been considered today. But I am so grateful that I was given an opportunity to do something so powerful about the power of women.
Yes.
Because that's what this story is. Funny Valentine's is about two women who find out that they're sisters. And one of the sisters, Deary B, is what we would call today, somebody who is autistic. Right? Back then, it was somebody who was slow, but she was definitely on the spectrum. And Alfre was high powered. She was coming out of New York City with her two daughters. It was a whole, but I would have never been hired today. And I think if I have anything to tell people who are in either film or television or publishing, hire people for what their voice.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
There's so many voices out there that can speak for so many of us. And it doesn't matter if we're women or men or trans or gay or black or white. What is the voice that we're putting out there that's going to have an impact?
Truth.
So true.
Beautiful. My friend Dana Stevens wrote The Woman King.
Yes.
And she also as a white woman, and it was an interesting path for her too, because obviously honoring the story and the voices, a very special time in history.
How amazing that she did.
Yeah, so you speak the truth there about whatever the best voice is that needs to come through for that. Hire
Isn't
that.
what we need?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Amy, what are you pleased with where you are in your work life now?
What dreams do you have, Amy?
What dream? Yes.
Oh, Amy, can you please ask another question?
What
I
dream?
think you just gave us the answer.
Am I
Right.
I think, and I'm going to be really like out there, straightforward, no bullshit. I think it's quite miraculous where I am in my life creatively.
Yay!
Bring that I didn't have an expectation of having this life. I am so grateful that I've had books published and a play off Broadway.
Yeah.
And movies made and articles and writing for you, Amy, and having the opportunity to come in and be a guest editor in chief at a magazine. And I've had a miraculous career. Do I have any? No, I think no.
And you're still creating. I mean, you're still creating, and you have a dream that's coming. I don't know if you can't talk to it about it can you? You have
Yes, you
something
can. Tell me.
Well, I don't know, maybe it may be in secret negotiations.
Jane asked me the other day what my dream is. And marrying George Clooney, which was adapted to a Broadway play,
Yes.
was so incredible to witness. It was incredible to be in an audience and watch somebody on stage being my mother, being me. And so it ran, and it was gonna be playing here in the theater last summer. But there was a couple of things that had to be repaired with the theater, and so it was moved. But it's coming back at the Haddonfield Playhouse in Haddonfield, New Jersey in September. But my dream really is for it to come back and be in other theaters and because
Yes.
it's about mothers and daughters, and it's powerful, poignant, and it's a journey of two women, my mom and me, or any mother and daughter. It could be Jane and her mom. It could be, you and it's the journey of two women who come together. My mom and I had such an intense relationship. And writing the play, and also in the book, at the last chapters, I got to know who she was. What a gift to be able to get to know who somebody is who you had no idea who they are because of how they kind of put an armor up.
Right.
Well, dementia takes that armor down.
Yeah.
Right.
My mother was not wearing makeup and being all fluffed up and gorgeous when I would see her in the assisted living facility.
Yeah.
She was raw and real and scared and tiny. Yeah. And my mother had dreams and never fulfilled them. And I said it I read it at the end of the book, and it's very specific at the end of the play, that I knew there was a specific moment that I knew that I became the woman she always wanted to be.
Yeah.
And
wow, that's such a powerful.
And I just fell in love with my mother in that, because I realized here I was living this life, married to this incredible man, living this life, creative life. And that was who my mother wanted to be. And so that's Jane asked me the other day, and I would love to see that piece of work come to life again, because I think it would encourage all women and women who struggle with their mothers.
And that's the miracle of when you are such a beautiful writer as you are. You take people on the journey that haven't been able to dive in as deeply as you. So many people just skimming the surface. But if they can even, right? So if they can just listen to your voice or read your books or see it in a play, I think there's so much transformation that can happen, so much healing that you provide, Amy. I'm just so grateful for that voice.
Thank you. And the thing is, I don't want to be in the play. I'm not in the play, but I think we need more women's voices that inspire us. I mean, there's so many amazing writers out there. There are. I mean, Amy, you're an amazing, it's like there's so many amazing, authentic writers out there.
Yeah.
Amy, would you direct this, by the way?
No.
No.
No. I actually, and Jane knows this, I reached out to Marta Kaufman a while ago. Marta. And she had read it. And she was like, I said, would you direct it? And she was like, yeah. But she's also, it's been a rough for her and all of that. But
that's actually great.
I'm not wedded to the creation, to the actual body of it. In terms of directing or being in it, or I just feel like it's when I saw it off Broadway
Yeah.
and there were like 300 people in the audience, and the emotion and the experience
Yeah.
of seeing it come to life, it was remarkable to me. There's something about live theater, right?
Yes.
Where it's an instantaneous kind of like reaction.
And collective
Feeling
experience. Yeah.
the energy of people who are there. You're hearing their hearts beating. You know, and I love, theater to me is just really important. I love theater, and so that's if there's anything, that's it. The dream of bringing that back to.
We are working on this.
I know. Wouldn't Jane be amazing in it?
Oh, I'm too old. You need someone younger.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
No, no, no.
It's
You-
50 in the 50s.
I know, I'm 62. I'm too.
Okay, no, the woman who played me was 59, 58. She played both, it's a one-woman play, and it's, no, you're not too old. Trust me. Okay,
Actually, that would be
we'll move
really
on.
interesting.
We'll move on now then. Why can't there be a lot of actresses? Why can't kids travel all over the world?
True, we can
I
spread
think
out.
that's brilliant. I love that. Just different actors. That's
We
right.
can come to Canada. Why not?
Yes.
Exactly. We
Love
can
it.
incubate it at Noon Miracle.
There you go. We can incubate in the incubator.
I think so.
Let's start it.
Do
I
a read.
love that. I love that.
I
That's
actually
Yeah.
think we could. Yes.
We can put on a live read if you want to. We can do this.
Actually, that's a great idea.
why not?
Of
Why not?
course.
We can do anything we want there.
Love that, Jane. We could do anything we want there.
Yeah.
love that.
And then it just goes out into the universe.
Amy, I know that we're sort of coming to the end, but I want to ask you if you stood eye to eye with your 20-something self, what would you say to her?
Do your life exactly as you're going to.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't tell my younger self to do anything different. I know that
Yeah.
I know
I
people
love that.
say that and say, "Oh, I would tell my younger self, don't go there, or don't take that job, or don't sleep with that guy," or I would tell my younger self, do exactly what you're going to do, because it got me here. And here is pretty amazing. It's not perfect, but it's pretty fucking amazing. And I wouldn't do anything different.
Beautiful.
I wouldn't
love
do
that.
anything different. I wouldn't do anything different. That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self.
What a circular gift of no regrets, of just living.
Exactly. It's very freeing.
I think I have regrets for sure, Jane, but I also think that those regrets got me to be a little bit more feisty. That got me to think, ooh, would I do that again?
Right.
I wouldn't not do it. I just wouldn't, I would learn from it. I do have regret, but I think regret and mistakes and all the crap in between gets us where we are.
I agree.
And I think that's important to tell people, because there's so many, especially women out there, who live in regret and live in pain and live in what if, or I should have. And I should have, it probably wouldn't get you where you are, right?
Yeah.
And I think if we can just start looking at our lives through the eyes of Jane, by the way, we would see ourselves as miracles and beauty. We would see ourselves so differently. I know when I was with Jane in live events, and I would walk into a room that was lit with candles, and I'm getting chills as I say this. I felt like the world was okay. I felt like there's magic here. And she created that. And we all got to experience something for 2 hours or 3 hours that maybe ignited something in us that was dormant. So when I see myself through her eyes, I feel like, okay, nothing's impossible. Same thing with my friend Beth Brode.
Yeah.
When I see myself through her eyes, I feel like, oh my fucking God, I can do anything. And I think that
That's amazing to have people like that. Really, really something.
Well, it's Amy, you see us. When we see you and you invite us into your world, you're acknowledging that we have something that the world needs. That's pretty fucking huge.
It really is.
That's massive. It's when other women can do that, when other women see you and say, come with me, they're seeing something that maybe we don't see, but they're helping us awaken that and ignite that. I am so grateful to the women who do that for me. And there are women who don't do that for me. I'm not going to bullshit.
Yeah, true.
Women who do it for me. And now Jane and I don't talk all that much. I mean, we love each other daily, but we don't talk a lot. Same with Beth and same with, but man, when you're in that presence, nothing's the same. Because you know that you have the same heart. You know that you feel the same disappointment and pain and joy, and it's powerful. That's powerful stuff. Yeah. That's really powerful.
It is powerful. Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much for being here.
It's so good to get to the truth and the heart.
Yes.
And I so appreciate that you always bring us there, and to have both the Amys here that speak with such eloquence and always inspiration.
Both the Amys.
Both the Amys. There's only two.
I agree.
I love that. Both the Amys and the Jane. How incredible is that? Incredible.
What a delicious conversation. Thank you. I could just go on and on and on. Ask all the questions. We need to sit at the bonfire again of our start. Yes. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that soon. And we can play in this world, and we can play in Mighty Gorgeous World. There's so many more. Are you looking at us again? And we can
beautiful. I love it. I love it. Grateful for you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I love you both.
Love you too.
Thank you to the Amys.
Thank you.
This is the Amys.
I'm going to be sending you something to read later today.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
I love you.